Alright, what's going on, guys? Chris Rudnik here, and today we're working on the Ricer Miata. Oh wait. I'm not Chris Rudnik. This isn't the Ricer Miata. This is Nugget. Today, I'm Chuck. I'm making a first video on Nugget. This is my very own Ricer Miata. But if you guys are interested, I've been doing a lot of work on this thing lately, and of course it's a pile of shit. It's a 96. It has, of course, some nice wheels that I've been putting several tires on. It has a welded diff, which is causing the tires to go bad. It has bad alignment, which that's not helping either. But I've had the car for about 4 months now, and this thing has been a blast to drive for sure. But working out all the little things has been an absolute pain in the ass. But I'll take you guys around the car real quick and show you guys what's going on with it, and then we'll go over a lot of the things I've already done with it in detail, and also kind of give you guys a rundown on what I'm gonna end up doing with it in the long run, because of course it's a Miata, it's an ongoing project forever. Even though it's already set up pretty much as a drift car as it is, it still needs a good amount of work to get it ready to do more than just the daily stuff. Which, by the way, I deliver pizzas in Nugget, and I probably put about 150 miles on it a day. So needless to say, I'm really hard on my cars, and I'm very much a spirited driver. But I'll go ahead and walk you guys around and show you a little bit of the stuff that I've done to it. Here she is. Like I said, it's nothing really that special, but it is fun to drive for sure. And when I first got the car, the biggest thing that actually happened with me whenever I got it was the previous owner left the radio sitting in the dash, and he kind of left it sitting there and no wires hooked up to it, so of course it was sitting back in the frame of the dash, of course, and shorting everything out. So I was having issues with, basically, it started with the very first night I got it, I broke a ball joint on the car, which I'll go ahead and run you guys on that one first before I even start that. But the very first night I broke a ball joint, and of course, as you can see that nice dent there, it ended up costing me quite a bit of time on my very first night with the car, because it dented the entirety of my fender here. Sorry, I was looking underneath. But yeah, if you guys can kind of see that, it bent the shit out of the fender, because of course after the lower ball joint broke, it just basically sent the wheel up into the fender well, and of course bent tie rods and did all kinds of wild shit to it. And yeah, ever since then I've had this ugly gap on this fender. It kind of fucked up this hinge here where it was already rusty. But basically, after I got that all done, very first night, it took me until about, I'd say, 2 o'clock in the morning, because I couldn't get the ball joint to actually release from the knuckle. So I ended up beating the shit out of it for several hours on the side of the road with very minimal tools, trying to get the ball joint out, because I had the ball joint already, but I had to get it out, of course. But yeah, after that I left where I finally got it fixed, because of course it was daytime whenever it all started, and by the time I got it replaced it was dark. I went to leave and my headlights didn't work at all. So, needless to say, I had to drive home with my hazard lights on. But, after all that, I still never figured out what the deal was with the headlights, so I ended up hooking them up on a switch over here. If you can't see that. But, yeah, I hooked those up on a switch to where the headlights work no matter what now, because they're on constant. But, after that, I think it was about a week later, I ended up having more lighting issues where my interior dash lights, my parking lights, and my brake lights, all that kind of stuff was not working at all. So basically, I was pretty screwed trying to figure out, I traced all the wiring that runs along here, all the wiring that goes into the trunk, all the wiring that even goes through the doors to the speakers and everything, just making sure nothing was shorting them out. And then brilliant me, I finally pulled the stereo out, and lo and behold, it's right behind the stereo. All the wires were just shorting out. Like, the dimmer wire was sitting directly on the metal frame, causing like every light and every fuse to pop that it could fucking get to. So basically, after I got that replaced, it wasn't such a bad deal. I pretty much had no electrical problems after I finally got the radio hooked up properly, because, like I said, he just had the radio sitting there with no wires hooked up. Of course, the radio's junk. That's why he did it. It only has one speaker that works, because I tried running direct wire straight through to this speaker in the door, and also I hooked some speakers up here in the back, and none of them actually worked. Aside from that left one right there. But yeah, the car itself, it's kind of not in great shape. If you can't see, they put an aftermarket ignition in there that doesn't fit around the stocks, or the column, I mean, and of course, if it doesn't fit around there, it's not going to fit in the hole. So it's just kind of chilling on the top. I don't know if that was the best solution, but it's a solution, I guess. Of course, the car's dirty as hell because I drive 150 miles a day. Well, since I got this car in late February or early March, something like that. I think it was February. I got it with 232,000 miles, and it's already at 256, if that tells you anything. I put a lot of miles on my car. Like, 150 is a conservative number of miles a day, and that's like a quick shift or something. But yeah, I deliver pizzas with this thing, and it's been really good. I'm gonna be honest, aside from eating through tires every 2 weeks, it's been a really fun car. And of course, if you can't tell, I got the whole Crown Royal shift boot and the hydro, and it's just an inline hydro. I'm sure you guys can tell by what you're looking at. The rest of the car really isn't in great shape. All the seats are kind of torn up. Well, this one's, I don't know, this one's actually pretty perfect. It's just absolutely filthy in here because I don't have a vacuum that I can bring outside here. But yeah, it's, like I said, it's the pizza car, so it goes through a lot of shit. But all in all, the car itself is in pretty alright shape. It has, I've of course rolled the front fenders to fit these big 15 by 8.5s. And on the rear it has over fenders, if you can't tell. They're a bit thicker than stock. They did a poor job at putting them on. And there's awful paint on the car itself, but a little bit of drift stitching. It was shouted out in Drew Peacock's video about that one. Otherwise, honestly, it's not in bad shape now that I got all the little things worked out, aside from needing a alignment pretty bad. But yeah, it's been quite an adventure. I'd say all the other odd and end little things I've replaced so far are all under the hood, so I suppose we'll go to there. Sorry, this isn't a great camera view. Still learning all this fun stuff. Alright, yeah, so I'd say about a month into having the car, I had to replace the alternator with a new one. Of course, the belts, I replaced both of those whenever I did the alternator because it was an absolute pain in the ass to do the alternator belt with that bracket down there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the one that attaches to the intake, that's a pain in the ass with that bolt that goes backwards into the alternator. But so far, you can see my ghetto wire for the headlights. And of course I replaced the headlights with LEDs because they work a lot better. And I can barely see anyways. And if I only have one beams, because of course it's on a straight direct switch, I don't have high beams. So yeah, otherwise I replaced the belts, the alternator. I had to do 2 brake calipers, both of the ones in the rear. Of course, I did pads already and rotors. And what else? Oh, of course, that mirror was about 2 months into owning the car. Everybody kept bonking into this mirror when I'm at work because, of course, like I said, I deliver pizzas and everybody's very careless when they get in and out of their car, especially the drivers. So it like kept getting off from where it belonged and it needed to, I like went to adjust it one day and it completely just snapped right off of its little stock. And I'm honestly afraid that this one is about to do the same, but the bolts are so rusty in there. I keep like occasionally spraying them to try and get them to break free. But yeah, aside from that, it's been a pretty good car. I'm surprised this one actually came out with how rusty it is behind there. It's still solid, but that paint is peeling bad from them doing a very piss poor job on the paint. But what can you expect, especially whenever they painted over like one of the most beautiful colors for an M edition. And here's the trunk. Nothing to really see here aside from a fuck ton of parts and tools. Yeah, otherwise, it's been pretty solid. Of course, I drift it pretty much all day long, so I'm eating up tires and just having a good time driving it. And I'll be taking you guys along for some of the adventures, because I've had a lot of mishaps with this car so far, and I'd like to kind of document it just so I can share it with whoever ends up with the car if I do end up getting rid of it. I have no plans to, but who knows? You never know what could come along. But this was day before yesterday. This is what I just experienced then. If you guys can see it down there. Sorry, my camera's having a hard time zooming, but as you can see there, that bracket is broken right there. I had to, on the side of the road, I was pulling out of work on a delivery, and of course, as I'm leaving the store, I feel that it is very difficult to turn. And yeah, I stopped at the parts store like 2 seconds up the road from my work I was thinking, man, oh well, I got a leak of power steering, so I might as well, I probably just, you know, low on fluid. So I stopped, got some fluid, filled it up, and it was still decently full, so I was like, well, that seems a bit weird since I have no steering. But I ended up figuring it out, and it was, of course, that bracket broke, and I had to basically get back in there, flip it around. As you can see, there was a circle there on that side, like right here. There was the circle there, and then on the other end there's of course another circle, and then the slip part for where it adjusts also lines up with the slip part in the back. And instead I just kind of took it, spun that around, took it apart, spun it backwards, and just kind of attached it at that point, because I know this is doing a lot of the work for it anyways. So I'm kind of putting a lot of pressure on this one bolt, but yeah, I feel like that's still pretty solid, at least for a few days until I can order the part that I need. And yeah, it's like I said, it's been pretty good so far. I have quite a few little things that I need to get done. I need to do tie rods on it as well, and I need to do something about this leak here. It's right on the edge of the inner tie rod on this side, but I also need to, of course, do a valve cover gasket because it is leaking like a son of a bitch on all sides. Even around the spark plugs there is oily crap, but I think that a lot of that's from just fucking spilling it. But yeah, it needs a valve cover gasket bad. I have it in the trunk, but I've been kind of waiting just to introduce the car so I can do a little more content on the car while I'm doing this stuff instead of just doing it and getting frustrated. I can use it as a opportunity to teach and learn. If I'm doing things wrong, you guys can comment down below and let me know I fucked up. Because I'm new to Miatas, this is my very first one, and I'd like to get into the whole community a little more because I'm in Ohio and I've been trying to meet new Miata owners out here just to get a little idea on what I should be doing to make this car better because, like I said, it needs an alignment really bad. It has a little bit of shakiness and just odd and end little things that I need to figure out and get worked out before I want to go drive it fast or take it to the track or anything like that. I've been doing like little street drifts, but that's nothing crazy. I wouldn't trust it to go to like an actual drift event, but honestly, the car itself isn't in awful shape. I really love the car. It's been great, and I hope you guys enjoy this because there's going to be a lot more to come for this little thing. Look at that thick booty, boys. You know you love it. I love it too. But I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys like it too, and you guys can teach me while I teach you if we can all learn together here.